Hello everyone, welcome to another session of functions in Golang. In this session, we'll cover more about functions in Golang. So we'll specifically cover two of the topics for the function in Golang. So we will write functions that will return multiple values. And the second thing is we'll write function that can accept any number of the arguments on the fly and can return the values based on it. So let's first start with the function that can return multiple values from it. Now, for writing that function, I'll first write a function in Golang that will convert the arguments to uppercase and return those arguments back. And it will accept two arguments and return both of the arguments in a single go. And will then print those arguments to show you that how function is returning multiple values and we are finally printing them out. So let me quickly do it. Now this is called function, and then name of the function is convert. So it is accepting first argument called fname. The type of it is string, then it lname, the type of it is string. Now it will return two arguments, both of them are of type string. Now it is giving an error, we can say. Okay, now when we return multiple arguments or when we return multiple values from a function, so we have to enclose the return values if more than one in bracket. This is the Golang syntax. This has to be noted here. Now, what I am doing is I have to convert this arguments to uppercase. Now, I'll say u f name. Now, strings is the inbuilt Go method or inbuilt Go package that comes with the default Go installation that has different methods related to string, like for comparing the string, for converting the string to uppercase to lowercase, etc. So I'll make use of that package. I'll say string dot to upper, and I'll say f name to it. Now I'll say ul name strings dot to upper. Now I'll pass lname to it, and finally I will return uf name comma ul name. So now here I have ul name. Here. Okay, so this error is because it says that function, we have declared a function within the scope of the package, but we have not used this function yet. So that's why it's giving a warning. It's a warning because there's an orange line in here. If it would have been an error, this line would have been red. And this is due to the extension of Visual Studio Code that we have installed along with the Go installer or the Go extension of it for watching the how to install different extensions and add different extensions regarding Go to Golang. You can watch previous videos called setup and installation of Go and set up the IDE for it. So I've explained that to him. Now we'll go back to the main and I will accept both the arguments there called fname, comma lname. There's a spelling mistake. And here I'll call the function convert and I'll send James Anderson to it. Now I'll say fmt dot print ln. Now I want to print fname and lname both to it. Now you see I have written a function, accepted two arguments of type string. There's one thing it's worth mentioning here. If I do not have to, if both the arguments of a type of string, like in variables, we can just say it like this and Go will automatically understand that, okay, if string is followed by both the function argument name, that means both the arguments are of type string. Now coming back, I've written a function that accepts two arguments that returns two values and it first convert both the arguments to uppercase and then return both the arguments or both the values back. I am accepting both the values here and then printing both the values. Now let's see, go run hello.go. Let's run this function. You see, I have converted. So this is the function that converts or the values to uppercase and return the values. So basically now we have successfully written a method that is converting, that is returning more than one values from a function. And at this present, we have returned two values from a function. Now let's talk about the another function in Go that is that can accept undefined number of parameters that can so the number of argument that that function will accept is not fixed. It can accept one, two, three, four, any number of arguments, and it will work based on that. So such type of function is called a variadic function. So let me first write that function for you, and then I will explain what I have done and what each and everything will do regarding that. So for that, I will first write a function called add. Now, this function, let me first write us a very simple function that will uh, add some two of the values and return that sum. And I will show you by printing it param1, comma param2, and both of these will be of type int. It will return int. Now I will say sum equal to param1 plus param2, and ultimately I will return the sum. Now here I will say sum equal to add 1 comma 2, and finally I'll say fmt dot println, and I will print the sum. Now the output should be 3 now. You'll see the output is 3. This is a very simple function that accepts two parameter of type integer and finally adds them and return it as an integer, and we are printing the integer. But now what if the requirement is such that that add function sometimes wants to send two parameters, sometimes three, sometimes four. Now how to address this? Now Go has a special function to address this that is called variadic function. Now, how Go address this function? This functionality is with the use of ellipses in the part where we are declaring the function. Now, how to write the ellipse? It is like this is the name of the argument, three dot, and the type of the argument. So this is the ellipse. This is how we can tell our Go program that the argument that it can accept can be of any number. It can be of 1, 2, 3, 4, any number of arguments can be passed to it. It will return init. So basically now what is happening here is whenever I'm calling this function and I'm passing the arguments to this function, so Go is implicitly converting these arguments to an array or slice. Now inside this function, when I'm doing the sum, so I have to handle the sum by handling the array instead of directly picking the values of the param. So now for getting the values out of the array or a slice, what we have to do is we have to do a looping through that, right? So let me write a function quickly here and then I will explain you how this. So I'm writing a for loop in here because for pulling the values out of the array, I have to write for loop, and I will explain in my later sections when I'll explain you for loop, while loop, and different types of loop in there. So I'll explain that thing in a later. For this time, you just understand that I'm writing a for loop in here. So I'm saying for underscore I, it says range, and it will be on param. I'll say sum equal to sum plus I, and finally I will return the sum. Right, and before that, okay, I have not declared initialize sum here. Okay, Now you see. So what I'm doing here is I'm passing two arguments to it, and now so when I'm passing two arguments, so what our Go is doing is it is actually converting it to an array like this of 1 comma 2. So I've written a for loop so that I can go through each and every index of this array or a slice, and then I am doing the sum of it. So sum at first part sum is 0. It picks up the first value in y. So 0 plus 1 will become 1. Now next time it will pick the value of 2, but the value of sum has become 1. So it will do sum equal to 1 plus 2, that will become 3, and I will return the 3 out. So now let me show you by running the program in here. It has returned C. Now here I can pass 3 arguments now. Will return. I can pass 4 arguments here. Will return. Now I can pass 5 arguments here. So this is all about function in Go. And before I end up the session, there are certain uh, specific properties. So basically the ellipses, if any function in Go is accepting ellipses, that simply means that it can accept any number of parameter. Now the constraint with the ellipse is since it's an array, so it can be of only one type. So for example, in this ellipse param, I have declared it as an integer. So I always have to pass integer to it. If I will try to pass an integer or and a string to it, it will give an error. You see, cannot use 7 untyped string as type integer in the argument to add. So this is one constraint when using the ellipses we have. So this is all about the variadic functions in Go. Now there is more to come in the forwarding sessions. Thank you very much.